Okay, so I thought I'd do a little video about options that you've got for adding Android Auto or Apple CarPlay to BMWs. So this is a 2014 BMW 428i. It's got the NBT ProNav head unit. It's got the factory 10.4-inch screen. The screen is not flickering, that is just on this camera. And this car is also fitted with the BM OEM stereo Bluetooth audio option, which is how I'm actually connecting this device at the moment. So when I was looking at different options to add Android Auto to this car, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. If you've got a small screen, like the small CIC or something like that, you can replace this with a relatively cheap unit running Linux or Android, which is touchscreen. Given that I've got the original 10.4-inch nice non-reflective OEM screen in this car, I decided to keep that, and instead this one is not a touchscreen obviously, but it is operated via the iDrive controller down here or the steering wheel controls here. So this is it booted into Google Maps. We control it by the iDrive. We've got split screen view where we can see multiple apps at once, and we've got the list of apps that you've got as well, where you can select individual ones, like if you want full screen Spotify, you can have that, etc. Loads of different options, really nice. All controlled using the iDrive controller, the rotate, up, down, left, right, and click, which is great. So if I can click down to get to the bottom menu, I can go back to there, and I can put it in the double screen mode. So this is connected via the car's OEM stereo audio. I've done that rather than use the aux cord because some people seem to think that it gives a slightly better sound quality, but also the main thing for me is that it means that phone calls, whether you're in the BMW GUI or the Android GUI, it all just kind of works. The steering wheel controls for picking up and dropping a call work. It seems to be a little bit easier for me, so I'm doing it that way. If you haven't got the factory stereo Bluetooth, you'll be connecting via the aux input. In order to switch between the original BMW menu and the Android menu, we just simply press menu and hold it for 3 seconds, slightly less than 3 seconds, and you see we've got the standard BMW menu. Press and hold it again, and we pop back into this, so it just flicks between the two of them. One thing to be aware of with this is if I'm listening to, say, the car's radio, then I'm not going to hear any audio that comes out of Android Auto because that's connected via Bluetooth. So what I've done in order to make it easy to switch between the two is within the BMW menu, you can, as you probably know, you can map any function to a press of one of these buttons. So I've just mapped this button where I press that and it'll tap it into Bluetooth input on the head unit so I can hear everything that's going on here. One thing I did wonder about initially was what it was going to be like operating Android with a with the iDrive jog shuttle dial rather than a touchscreen. It's perhaps a little clunkier, but it does work, and it works really well whilst you're driving, where obviously you wouldn't want to be touching a touchscreen. So you've got up, scrolling will move through the different menu items. If I push left on the iDrive control like that, I can go into this. I can go into the right hand menu where I can touch my Spotify stuff. If I also use this control on the steering wheel, you can see it's also selecting different things in the GUI as well, and I can click to press it, which is really convenient when you don't want to take your hands off the wheel. If you're doing things where you're, say, in the sat-nav, if you're putting an address in, the GUI for that is a little bit clunky. If you click in a text field, you will get a little pop-up thing that comes here with like an alphabet on it where you can select one letter at a time, but it will also, at the same time, it will light up your phone's on-screen keyboard, so you can use that. To be honest, what I would tend to do is I would use the Google Voice Assistant instead, though. Just ask it to navigate somewhere. You can do that by either clicking on here, using the normal wake words for your device, which I won't say for this because it'll probably cut off my video, or this also works, which is really nice. Long press on that will go to the Android voice search, which works really nicely. So the other thing this device will do is it has a reverse camera fitted up to this, and it's integrated with the parking sensors. So if I were to go into reverse, which I won't do now because I'll have to start the car and that will reboot this device, you will get a pop-up on here which has the reversing camera on one side and has the parking sensors on here. All just works very, very nicely. You'll get that popping up whether you're in the BMW menu or if you're in the Android menu. It doesn't matter, it will just cut that in, and that works really nicely. Then as you drive off, once you've gone 10-20 feet, that will click off and it will just go back to the normal screen. You can also, in the settings for the MMI box, you can map menu if you wish, to turn off the rear view camera, which is a little bit more convenient than pressing this button to turn it off, just because it's kind of to hand at the moment. So if I go into the device itself, this one is a Tuning Solutions box. It's an MMI box. It's actually fitted under the glove box or behind the glove box back here. These vary in price from around about £400 or £500 from Bimatech to a couple of £100 on Amazon to £100 or so on AliExpress. They are all very similar, but slightly different. Manufacture of these devices, loads of different companies will take basically the same specs and do their own versions. So some are slightly better than others, so I would read reviews before you choose one. In terms of menus for the device itself, if we click exit here, this will drop us into the actual GUI for setting this up. So, you know, you could, if you switch between CarPlay and Android Auto, this is how you do it. It also does AirPlay, it does AutoLink, it will cope with multiple different, if you've got a front camera, it will cope with that, and it can play things off USB, etc, etc. But the interesting bit here is going into setup. So if we pop into here, we'll see this is where we can set things like whether it's left-hand drive or right-hand drive. We can say you use the car's Bluetooth, which is what I've done because I think that works better for me. You can turn off things like the steering wheel controls if you wish, and a whole bunch of other things in there. You can also, if we scroll back, you can set the Bluetooth name, the Wi-Fi name. In the audio section, you can set relative volumes of calls, music, etc. There is also a separate equalizer in here and loudness controls. Those do not work on Bluetooth. Those will only have effect if you're connected this device to the aux input on your car. So I'm just using the standard BMW EQ, which works really quite nicely. It also has an automatic setting for the noise cancellation for the microphone for calls, which is really, really nice. You can also in here, you can set things like for the reverse camera, you can set aftermarket, which is what we have here. You can tell it to have like the guidelines that show you where the car is going to point when you turn the steering wheel. You can say whether you want the parking radar to be visible on the side of the screen here, where it will be showing like different colours as you get closer to each corner of the car. It gives you like a bird's eye view of the vehicle and the 4 sensors on it. Once we're all done with that, if we click back to home, we go back to here, and I'm going to go back into Android Auto, and that will launch up here, and we'll be back where we started. So that's how this works. I found it to be really, really good. I have no complaints whatsoever. If I get in the car with my phone in my pocket, turn the ignition on, within about 20 seconds, bang, this will appear on the screen. We'll be into full Android Auto, and it works brilliantly. If you do want to get back to the BMW menu at any point, it's just that long press on menu, which takes us back to here, and that works exactly as you would expect it. So it doesn't affect the BMW settings or operations whatsoever, and we can just flip between the two with a long press like this. Anyway, hopefully you found that useful. As I say, this particular one is branded Tuning Solutions. I've found that it works absolutely great. I've had no problems with it whatsoever. One feature that isn't particularly well documented that you might want to know is by long pressing back, that will reboot the unit should you ever need to do that. I think I've done that maybe twice in the last couple of months. But overall, in terms of ease of install, pretty straightforward. In terms of bang for buck, amazing. If you have a BMW of pretty much most types, you really want one of these devices. You could choose to go for the touchscreen, and as I say, if you've got the factory really small screen, you might want to do that because you can get you can get a larger screen replacement touchscreen Android Auto unit. If you've got the large factory one, I really like the iDrive control for this, because I find that when I'm driving, the last thing I want to be doing is touching stuff. I had a Tesla before that and it used to drive me nuts. I'd much prefer to use this whilst I'm driving safely, or keep my hands on the wheel and just use this to select things. Anyway, hopefully you found that useful. There we go.